Xbox On. Welcome to Xbox On, a podcast with one host about one console, Xbox. I'm said host Jesse DeRosa, and on today's episode, we'll be talking about the latest Xbox news for the week of March 13th, 2025, including a new report outlines when we might expect the next round of Xbox hardware to release. Some analysts think Grand Theft Auto 6 could be as much as $100 at launch. BlizzCon has been dated for next year, and more. On this week in Xbox history, in the year 2015, 10 years ago, Yakuza 0 was released for the Xbox One. Of course, Yakuza 0, the best entry in the Yakuza franchise, and that comes from a guy who's only played 1, 2, 3, some of 4, and 0. I haven't played the other 500 entries of the series, but of the ones I've played, this is by far the best. So, shout out to Yakuza 0, hitting 10 years old this week. I love this game so much, man. If you are only going to play, I know Yakuza is so intimidating because they literally make like 2 or 3 of them a year. Like I'm not even being cute about it. It's insane how the output of this team and how many games they get out in this series. But if you were only going to play one and only one game in this entire series and then just bow out and be done, Yakuza 0. That's the only one you got to play. It's a perfect story, start to end. You can play the whole thing, never move on, and have a very satisfying experience overall. It's 30, 40 hours long. It was made well after the first few entries, so they really had a mature idea of what, where the series was going and what kind of story they could tell with the characters. And this game has the unique opportunity of going back and being able to really flesh out who these characters were before they are the characters we know them to be in the main series. And it's just, dude, it's so good. This video game is such a treat. It'll make you laugh. It'll make you cry. Probably make you shit your pants. I highly recommend Yakuza 0. Thank you. Guys, welcome to Xbox On, episode 302. Happy Mario writes in and says, "It's Thursday. I started the weekend early. I'm going to listen now while I'm at home playing on the Xbox." I love that. That's fucking awesome. Tim R writes in and says, "Yay, it's finally Thursday. I've never seen so many people so excited for it to be Thursday. Yay, it's the day before the weekend. Woo, one more day of work, one more day of waking up early." Guys, you're making me blush. Thank you so much for letting me know that this podcast is such an exciting moment for you that you can find excitement despite knowing tomorrow you still got to wake up at 3 in the morning. You still got to go to the factory and churn butter because you work at the Amish mill and you love Xbox despite your Amish upbringing. And you're always at war with yourself because you want to play Xbox and listen to Xbox-related podcasts, but your people tell you that's not who you are. That's not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to churn butter, but you're supposed to churn gamer score because you're an Xbot. You're not an Amish bot. I love that. I love that for you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here, and thank you for being excited. Guys, it's another Thursday, which means another Xbox On. 302 episodes in, a lot of people used to tell me, "Jesse, what will you do for episode 300? And I used to always say the same thing. It's not what I'll do for episode 300, but it's what I'll do for episode 302. You'll have to subscribe to the Patreon to know what happens then. But for those of you who are on Patreon, we'll continue on with the rest of the show. You guys, we got some notable games coming out this week, but there's only one I want to focus on because it's got a strong shirtless man on the cover, and that is not gay. Guys, I'm talking about WWE, not to be confused with www.com. 2K25 Standard Edition, my favorite edition of any game, is the Standard Edition. It's $69, which is the most appropriate price you could ask for. And this game is going to be optimized. Can you believe it? They're optimizing it for the Xbox Series S and X, which means it's an Xbox One game. Guys, it's the WWE 2K25. This is going to bring together an unparalleled lineup of current superstars, legends, Hall of Famers. The 300-plus stacked roster spans multiple generations and features Seth freaking Rollins, Undertaking, the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, or is it Rhodes or Rhodes? Yeah. CM Punk, I believe, is in the game, as well as Jade Cargill and more. And it's a franchise first, a step outside the ropes and into the island for an immersive WWE-themed world-filled and epic arenas, challenges, and live events. Pre-order the game to get a Wyatt 6-pack, and also plus, you'll receive a digital copy of WWE 2K24 Standard Edition to play while you wait, which is just freaking awesome. Also grab the WWE 2K25 Deadman Edition or the Bloodline Edition to start playing today. That was not a sponsored ad. That is just exactly what I felt like saying off the cuff. That is all coincidence. Guys, this is not a read from the XboxWire.com write-up. This is simply just what I have to say. It's what I think and feel about WWE 2K25 Standard Edition, published by 2K with 466 reviews, a 5-star rating, retailing for $69.99 US pre-order. This is just my thoughts and feelings. I'm not reading. I promise I'm not reading. Guys, when I'm not playing WWE 2K25 Standard Edition, $69.99 pre-order, 466 reviews, 5 stars, usually I'm talking about the mildly amusing stories of the week as it pertains to Xbox. You guys, let's start out with this week's appetizers. You went to the WWE show and you said, I'm going to get some snacks while I watch these naked men touch each other. But afterwards, I'm going to go to Waffle House. But before I go to Waffle House and before these naked men start touching each other, I'm going to eat some fucking appetizers. And you're at the wrestling arena and it smells like body odor. And there are lots of men with beards and shirts that represent various diesel engines made by American corporations who make automotives with diesel engines, and it makes you have a hankering for certain types of snacks. So you go to the concession stands, and yeah, they got Mick Ultra, yeah, they got Bud Light, but we're not here for the bev, we're here for the food. So you want to get them nachos with the jalapenos, you got to get that fucking $12.99 hot dog that's not even a full ass foot long. It's talking an 8-incher at most. We got the fucking, what else they got at those places? Peanuts, popcorn, Diet Cola. Let's do it. So let's get into those appetizers, or as I call them this week, the concession stand. Let's go to the concession stand and see what we can whet our appetite with, which is that's not what that phrase means. But anyway, guys, did you hear the news? BlizzCon will once again not be held this year, but there's a confirmation that it will return in 2026. Blizzard made the announcement in a post on the official BlizzCon website saying that the show will return to the Anaheim Convention Center on the weekend of September 13th, 2026. The news therefore confirms that there will be no BlizzCon this year, as was also the case last year. So, they cite basically they basically just do like the PR statement, like, we have a lot to celebrate in the future. We're really excited. We love celebrating with our community. But they say, for 2026, we'll get back together and we'll do our event. We're building a big event. It takes time, blah, blah, blah. We want to respect our community and our players by forming the best thing we can do, whatever. That's basically all they say. Essentially, I think it's pretty easy to read into this and say, yeah, they don't have shit to talk about. So they're not going to really do a BlizzCon until they really have stuff worth talking about, which I really kind of respect, because otherwise it just becomes a Blizzard convention for the sake of having a Blizzard convention, which isn't a horrible idea, but I just like the idea of these events and these corporations coming to speak to the public and announce things and put a thing together, only if you really have a reason to do so. I really like that idea of like, yeah, we know you guys want a BlizzCon, but if we don't have enough reason to justify putting one together, we're not going to do it. And so I assume that's what this is. And I respect the hell out of them for doing it, as disappointing as it may be for all you fucking Overwatch fans. Oh, I want to watch the girl in the egg suit cosplay with the devil horn female girl from Diablo 4. Oh, I just love World of Warcraft because I collect shills and I raid dungeons. I pay my penance. Guys, the news marks the 6th time a physical BlizzCon event has been canceled, with previous cancellations being 06, 2012, 2020, 2021, 22, and 24. The last in-person BlizzCon was held in Anaheim in 2023. Guys, it's been so long. We miss BlizzCon. Do we, though? We really only have to talk about this because Blizzard's an Xbox thing now, but I don't give a shit about BlizzCon. The only thing I know about BlizzCon is I one time worked with this guy at a restaurant back in college, and I thought this guy was cool. We had a lot of video game and music tastes in common, and I tried to be friends with him, and then he kind of put me in the work friend zone, not real friend zone, and wouldn't hang out with me because I was too much of a goody two-shoes. And then he went to BlizzCon and bragged about it to me, And then that's all I remember about that kid. I just remember I tried to hang out with him, and he always put me off, and we never actually hung out. And then he bragged about how awesome it was to meet up with all of his internet friends when he went to BlizzCon. I don't know. That's all that comes to my mind when I think about BlizzCon. Shout out to that kid. He's a nice guy though. I hope he's doing well. I hope he's not too upset that BlizzCon's canceled this year. Yeah, that's it, guys. That's it for all the news. No, just kidding. We got plenty. I just want to get that one knocked out because I had nothing really to say about it. But I do have something to say about this next one, guys. VGC, the only website that the state of Florida hasn't blocked me from masturbating to. God, that's a deep cut. Be a Florida resident to know more about that one. Anyway, VGC relays that Bethesda's I promise that wasn't like a raunchy joke. That's just like it's a nod to a thing that's happened. Anyway, Bethesda's long-expected Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion remake looks set to release sooner than expected. The Oblivion remake was first mentioned by the alleged developer back in 2023 before being named in a leak-contained court document that same year. Now, according to the noted insider Nate the Hate, who's cited often on the show, the Oblivion remake is set for reveal within the coming weeks, a claim that VGC has corroborated with its own sources. Now, Nate the Hate claims the game will likely release before June, which sources have told VGC could arrive as soon as next month. This one is really surprising to me because, first of all, Nate the Hate has a great track record, so if his sources are telling him this, there's a decent chance this is legit. And if VGC is able to corroborate this with their sources, that's a lot of legitimacy. But, dude, what is the fucking thinking behind this? Riddle me this. If you're going to put this Oblivion remake out before the Xbox Summer Showcase in June, you got to make it make sense. So, we just had Avowed. We're about to get Atomfall. We're about to get Expedition 33. We're about to get South of Midnight. We're about to get Doom, The Dark Ages. We got pretty much nothing but Call of Duty confirmed for this fall. Right? And I guess Ninja Gaiden, right? And you guys want to cram another Western RPG open world style game before we even get into the summer months? Like, what is happening? What are we trying to do? Is the idea that like Phil Spencer and the team are like, we're going to like butt fuck Game Pass with so much good content to prove to ourselves that good games won't drive subscriptions to Game Pass, just so we can know. Just so we know when the plug gets pulled on everything, we know good games didn't make the difference. I like what is the methodology behind this? You would think this could be like an exciting summer showcase announcement where they could be like announcing the Oblivion remake. Oh, and it's out now, or oh, and it's out in a week or so. You know, that would be an amazing reveal and a great game to have in the summer months when there's nothing coming out in June and July. But no, these motherfuckers say, we'll put it out in April or May. Why the fuck not? Now, I know what you're thinking, but Jesse, Tony Hawk remake comes out in July. Shut up, that doesn't count. I don't know, man. It's weird time. It's just the front-loaded nature of it, and I get it. Everyone wants to get away from Grand Theft Auto 6, but do we really think Grand Theft Auto 6 is coming out in June, July? You know, like, come on now. We can put this game out a little bit before and probably get away with it too. I don't know. This just seems crazy to me. The only other thing that might come this year is maybe that Gears collection or something. I don't know. I wonder, maybe the new methodology at Team Xbox is like, get all of your new Xbox games out in the first half of the year so that you can spend the latter half of the year releasing all those games on PlayStation since they come to Xbox first. Is that a logical thing? Is that what we're working towards? I don't know, man. This is crazy. I believe this is real. I just don't understand why this is the decision that they're making. But it sounds like, you know, we'll learn about this pretty damn soon, much like how with Tony Hawk, it was like 1 week, it was like, oh yeah, they're probably going to announce Tony Hawk in a week. And then a week later, it's like, here's Tony Hawk. I feel like we're kind of getting to that point with Oblivion where we're no more than a few weeks away from having a full proper reveal with a release date for this title. So I guess we'll just shut the fuck up and wait because we'll have more to say very soon. Listen, I trust Nate the Hate. Don't be a Nate the Hater, be a Nate the Truster, okay? Trust her. I hardly know her. Guys, let's move on with Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Speaking of Xbox games that come to PC, the PlayStation 5... PlayStation. Slow down, Jesse. PlayStation. The PlayStation 5 version of Indiana Jones and the Great Circle may have its release date as it's appeared online. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle was released on December 9th last year for the Xbox consoles and PC. Has also been available with Game Pass since launch. The game was announced for PlayStation 5 last year. However, The launch date for the game is yet to be officially announced. They just said, what? They said early or the first half of 2015 is what they said. Now, according to Gyro, citing French retail sources, the physical edition of the game will be released on April 17th, suggesting a digital version of the game will come at the same time. Again, Xbox, slow your fucking wad, okay? You got a whole lifetime ahead of you. Why are you pushing all your games out? Are you guys about to, like, fold your video game division or something, Microsoft? Like, why you got to get every gosh darn game out before my 30th? Oh my God, it's because you're trying to do this before my 30th birthday, aren't you? You sweet son of a bitch. You're just trying to celebrate the fact that I'm turning 30 by saying, no, we're not going to let Jesse turn 30 years old without first making sure that we have the most robust lineup of video games ever on the market, so that no one can ever say Jesse, or that Xbox has no games, especially at a time when Jesse is 30 or older. That's just so sweet. That's just so thoughtful and very coherent, Xbox. Very smart of you to think that and to put two and two together and to come to that conclusion. I just think that's why we love Xbox, is because you guys are so smart. You guys have ideas like that. And other video game publishers, they don't have ideas like that, Xbox. That's why you're so goddamn good. Xbox. What is happening here? What is happening? Who can keep up with these game releases? I'm still trying to play Avowed. Who can keep up with this, Xbox? Phil Spencer. What is wrong? Who hurt you? Speaking of hurting you, an Xbox's new strategy has it releasing more games on more platforms, but there are still certain steps for new players and that they must follow if they want to join in on the fun. Now, this is from PureXbox.com. They say one of these steps happens to be the mandatory Microsoft account logins. We've seen this with Sea of Thieves, and now it's coming up with Forza Horizon 5 on PlayStation 5 this April. Although this probably shouldn't catch too many players off guard at this point, it is as it's been highlighted on other websites like PushSquare.com. One detail in the official FAQ that has raised question about the preservation of Forza Horizon 5 on PC or PS5. I keep saying PC. It comes from the following situation. So, I didn't include it here, but basically they announced that when Forza Horizon 5 comes to PS5 in April, the game will require you to have an Xbox login to play it, which is what they did with Sea of Thieves. It's similar to what Sony does with their games on PC, where you had to sign in your account. You know, Ubisoft does it with their games on console. It's whatever. It's a common practice. Love it, hate it. It just is what it is. But now people are starting to get up in arms about it because they're like, okay, well, this fucks over video game preservation, because if you have to link your Xbox account in order to play these games, what if that feature was ever disabled? What if the game would no longer be officially accessible to play unless it was later patched out, of course? Xbox also isn't releasing a physical copy of Forza Horizon on PlayStation, which has led certain members in the PlayStation community to believe that there are some legitimate concerns here that you would lose access. I think this is such a silly non-starter argument. I don't know. It's like, is it because everyone just thinks Xbox is about to go away forever that we're going to freak out over Xbox for this concern and not have this concern with anyone else that makes you do this? Bethesda, who else does? Ubisoft, I'm pretty sure. What's the one I'm thinking of that not saying? I think WB's one that wants you to do it. EA wants you to do it. PlayStation wants you to do it. They always want you to sign into their, you got to have an account in order to play fucking Zombie U for Nintendo Wii U. You know, it's like, we get it. You want our player data. It's important, guys. They want your player data. They need to collect that information. They can't collect that information from you on a competitor's platform if you're not signed in on their platform. You know, Xbox can collect your player data when you play on Xbox, but if they want to collect your player data when you play on PlayStation, they need you to log in your Xbox account. And that's why PlayStation makes you do it on PC, and that's why EA makes you do it when you play their games, because they don't make a console. So it's as simple as that. I'm sorry, this is a necessary evil. It's not going anywhere. So people bitching about it, calm down. And as for preservation concerns about Forza Horizon, yeah, you should be concerned, because these games always get delisted after so many years because of music and car licensing issues. And if they're releasing the game only digitally on PlayStation, well then yeah, I would worry. Make sure you purchase it before it goes away forever. If you don't want to run into that problem, get yourself an Xbox. I guess those are your options. You can complain about it, you can hate it. It just is what it is. So, not to be so tough love about it, but gosh darn it, guys, come on now, let's accept the reality for what it is. Anyway, speaking of a harsh reality, let's talk about these rumors that have been swirling for a while, but now they're picking up more steam, where analysts are predicting, expecting, wondering if Take-Two will charge more for Grand Theft Auto 6 than other AAA new releases get charged for. So we all know games nowadays, the average modern AAA video game costs $70 US. But According to Michael Patcher, a managing director of equity research at Wedbush Securities, this analyst discussed how Rockstar owner Take-Two Publishing Group plans for the blockbuster release in a research note distributed this week, where they say that they could reach a price point of $100 or more for this game. So this is that note. It says, "We think that the company has plans to sell the game at a previously unheard of price point and suspects that management can offer consumers an incentive to pay $100 or more per unit by rewarding them with a large amount of in-game currency to be spent on GTA Online," he wrote. So that was from Michael Patcher. There is a precedent for integrating an online game experience with a premium game, as Activision did with Call of Duty Warzone and Call of Duty Mobile content prior to the release of the annual Call of Duty Premium video games. In Activision's case, the integration led to a 40% increase in sales of Call of Duty Premium. In Take-Two's case, we think that the successful integration of GTA Online with GTA 6 can lead to a $100 price point for a premium game. It's not the first time that a $100 price point for a Rockstar game has come up to be mentioned. It's previously been suggested that other developers and publishers are hoping GTA 6 will be priced between $80 and $100 US, in a move which would allow more companies to raise their software prices as well. So while many are fearing, oh man, is GTA going to cost more than $70? Can we really keep raising the price of games? Other publishers and developers are hoping that this happens for the excuse for others to jump on board and do it. You see, the thing is, when video games made the jump this past generation from $60 to $70, it was mostly to keep up with the rising cost of game development and years of inflation, since game prices hadn't been upped since 2005 when the Xbox 360 came out. However, apparently a big issue is that, games went to $70 and then quickly everything happened with the pandemic and inflation and the global economy as it stands today, and that jump from $60 to $70 has largely already been eroded by adding so much more inflation, that rather than playing catch up from 15 years of not touching prices, we're now behind again like we were before we raised the price from 60 to 70. So a lot of companies are hoping that maybe something like a GTA 6 that's too big to fail can get away with charging 80, 90, $100, and then that will pave the path for the next Call of Duty or the next Uncharted or whatever to be 80, 90, $100 as well. Because all it takes is one or two really, really notable killer app style games to start the trend for others to be allowed to follow. So that's really the thing here. And I understand it's like, well, Jesse, don't they already kind of do $100 versions of games when it's like, oh, you can buy the digital deluxe edition or whatever, the complete edition, and it's like 90 or $100 instead of like 70 or 60 or whatever? Yes, but I think this is talking about more deliberately being like, no, we want the majority of our player base to purchase this game for $80 to $100, and maybe they throw in some freebie, like some cash or something to get started in GTA Online. But nonetheless, I mean, it's just, at the end of the day, it's just an excuse to get to charge more money for your game. I think if any game is going to get away with it, it is this game. And I'm of two mindsets about this stuff, because it's like, on the one hand, I understand that games are kind of cheaper than ever before. You look at like game prices like back during the NES and Genesis era, where games would be priced from like $40 to like $120. Like, games were outrageous, and prices back in those days were different than they are today. So $100 for a game in 1991 was a lot fucking more money than $100 for a game in 2025. And so it's not impossible to think that something like this could happen, and that it would be in some sense warranted. But with the other end of the coin is that players are not having this after so many years of being accustomed to a certain price point, plus with games being released more regularly, unfinished or broken in some state, plus the fact that there's just so much competition with free-to-play games, plus the fact that, the economy's tight. It's a bad time to raise prices on people, because people are already having to make tough decisions about their finances, because everything just costs more all the time. So in some ways, I'm really sensitive to how it's a horrible time for consumers, but in some ways, I understand how publishers feel need to do this, because it's so expensive to make these games. Why is everyone in the industry being laid off right now? Because these games have become so cumbersome and expensive and time consuming to build that we need fucking money, and it's an unsustainable industry. Now, do I think the industry, the solution lies somewhere in maybe trying to reduce costs by making smaller, more self-contained, less egregiously overproduced games that are that can be made in 2 to 3 years and with budgets a fraction of the size of they are now. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of that. I'm a huge proponent of that. But understanding the reality is the main everyday consumer wants the next game to be bigger, prettier, and badder than the last game. Something's got to give. Everything can't keep being $70, $60. And so if a game like GTA has the power and potential to maybe raise the industry standard for pricing, then I think a lot of people would hope for this to happen. A lot of publishers, and I think Take-Two would be almost silly not to try and capitalize on it, because if anyone can get away with it, it's these motherfuckers. So I'm not saying I condone it. I'm just saying I understand it, if that makes sense. Personally, I hope it's $70 because I don't want to pay 80, 90, or $100. And also because I don't want your fucking currency in GTA Online, because I'm not going to play GTA Online. I'm not going to play it. I don't care. I'm not going to play it. But I will play GTA 6. I'm sure it'll be great. All right, you guys, let's wrap up our concessions. You got the fucking nachos in your tummy. You had the peanuts. You had the popcorn. And now you said that's good. That's like $75 right there. That's like a GTA 6 amount of money on just concessions alone, because God knows that shit's expensive. But then the guy walks through the fucking aisles and goes, "Get your cotton candy here." And you say, "Oh, God, I love cotton candy," when strong, shirtless men are touching each other. And so I got to get me a pack of that blue and pink shit. And you get the cotton candy. So that leaves us one more story to talk about. So let me get into it now. Thank you very much. Good night. VGC relays that former Xbox executive Peter Moore says that the Xbox v PlayStation console war was healthy for the industry, but that things have changed. In an interview with Danny Pena's YouTube channel, also known as Gamertag Radio, the podcast Gamertag Radio, Peter Moore was asked about Xbox's current strategy of releasing first-party games on their competitor platforms like PlayStation 5. Moore, who joined Xbox in 2003 to help it compete with the PS2 and GameCube, then oversaw the launch of the Xbox 360. He said that in an era of the concept of console wars was a good thing for the industry because it kept each side in the public eye. According to Moore, the mainstream press previously blamed all of society's ills on video games, saying that they were a waste of time, creating violence, blah, 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 all that. And that in the early 2000s, the early 2000s was a phenomenal platform for us to get off the back pages and get onto the front pages and to be taken seriously in the entertainment medium. Now, he says, quote, "Look, I've said it before. Certainly I did encourage the battle because I think gamers love to see Xbox versus PlayStation, maybe Nintendo as well. And I think that was a rising tide lifted all ships. Today's situation, though," Moore stressed, "is different. And while Microsoft continues to make Xbox consoles, he thinks it would stop doing so and focus on games entirely if it could. But that there's still public appetite for buying hardware." He says, quote, "If Microsoft had the choice, would they make hardware? No. Would they be delighted if they could be a multi-$100 billion entity delivering content directly to your television to whatever monitor you choose to play it on? Oh, you bet. You know, a classic Netflix model, you just select who's playing this. 5,000 people playing this, I'm going to jump in now. No latency, no lag, you're in. And that doesn't need to be a box between you and a controller and the TV set. But still, you know, consoles are, as we've seen particularly with Nintendo now, people love their hardware." Moore added that while he understands that Microsoft's intention is to no longer get involved in console wars, he says he feels some of the feistiness has gone as a result. Quote, "The acquisition of Activision Blizzard changed things, I think. Not I think, I know. At Microsoft," he said, and so this is not the old days of the console wars and punching each other or trying to steal each other's competition and customers and trying to get to the market share and build an attachment rate. The bigger than that in an economic sense. Has it lost a little bit of its feistiness that the industry, I think, fed upon and grew up on? I think so, yeah. And so I don't think there's anything super profound or crazy being said here, but the reason why I want to include this is because I think this kind of captures a lot of the growing concern and sentiment people have in the console space, because here's the reality of it all. I don't think people are ready for this, and we'll talk about it a little bit more when we get to the news and when Cronky had a write-in about something similar. It's that, you know, people keep saying, oh, Xbox hardware is dead, and it's true. Microsoft could just come in and be like, we're fucking done here. We're done with hardware. Just stop. And it could just end tomorrow. We're talking about Microsoft after all. You know, Windows Phone, Zune, Groove Music, everything I've ever fucking loved. Microsoft banned. I'm used to it. Windows 8. You know, this is what happens. The fun Surface devices. We got the boring ones here and all the fun ones are gone. this is common practice for Microsoft. They say it's no longer super beneficial for us, overwhelmingly beneficial for us to be here. Let's just move on. And so could they just snap their fingers and say we're done with hardware? Yeah. I don't think they're going to, because I think that they see value in just having a box on the market, because they know such a large segment of the gaming community either one wants a box because hardware is just how we understand video games still, or two, in order to continue to be taken seriously and respected as a major player in the industry, it would just behoove them to give up having a box on store shelves, despite the fact that its relevancy keeps dwindling. At least, the hardware, not necessarily the services or games. But I think what really has to be said here is when people, talk about like, oh, Xbox is going to pull out hardware, it's over for Xbox. Or people like complain about how Xbox One and Xbox Series generations haven't been as big and competitive and exciting as Xbox 360 was. I think that's really what people are referring to more than anything, because when you consider it anecdotally, like the player, the customer, the average Joe, they don't know the sales numbers. Your coworker that plays Madden and Call of Duty, he doesn't know the sales numbers. He doesn't know how much PlayStation is pummeling Xbox. He doesn't know Xbox's pivoting strategies, or that this or that is the intention. And the reason why this is happening is because of that. These people don't know that stuff. But what they do know is they know the vibe, and they know the sentiment, and they remember how it was, and they can see how it's different today. And I think a lot of players are able to recall a time where, dude, Xbox was on fire, right? Everyone had Xbox. Everyone played Xbox. And maybe I'm speaking purely from an American-centric point of view, because obviously, that probably wasn't necessarily the case for everyone. We have European listeners and such, where this may not have been your experience. But, coming from the U.S., I remember the mid-aughts very well. Oh, yes, I remember the mid-aughts because I was a youth, and because World at War was awesome. Emo music was at the top of its fucking game. Fashion was awesome. South Park was really good back in those days, and oh boy, was Xbox something to be cherished and beloved. But anyway, silliness aside, it's just that people can remember a time where it felt like Xbox was competitive. It felt like PlayStation was this big, fierce other, alternative option, and you were on one side or the other, and everyone had some friends that picked one side, and everyone had some friends that picked another, and it was like, ooh, Xbox just got BioShock and Gears of War. It's like, ooh, but PlayStation now has Uncharted and fucking Uncharted 2, right? And it was like always this back and forth of like, well, the PlayStation 5 is technically more powerful than the Xbox 360, but its cell architecture is just so dynamic and so complex that most people aren't able to, work with it. And it just felt competitive, and I don't know, it felt a way that was exciting and it was fun. And maybe it was, I don't know, maybe it was a little immature, if you want to put it that way, but it was exciting and it was fun, and it felt like there was a this versus that was, I don't know, it was just like something people were aware of, and it was just something that kept like the spirit of the two brands like kind of pitted against each other, always encouraging one to try and outdo the other, which, as they say, competition, always results in the consumer getting the better product. Although I don't know that I don't necessarily always believe them, because there's other nefarious factors like governments and corporations always get involved and serve the companies over the consumers. Anyway, but I think it's fair, and it's worth pointing out that Xbox is more like we play nice with everyone thing. It's like, sure, it's mature, sure, it's interesting, sure, it's business savvy in a way that will make sense as time goes on, perhaps, probably, most likely, but it's certainly a lot less sexy and fun than it used to be, right? And I just think that's what people are noticing more than anything. And so to hear Microsoft be like, yeah, we're not really worried about selling the most consoles. Oh, yeah, we want to be on all the screens. Yeah, your iPad's an Xbox. It's like, even if that is the right answer, and even if that is the future, it's just, I don't know, hearing you admit it and say it and be like so like good sportsman about this whole ordeal, it screams like, cuck energy, a little bit. And I think that's what people are picking up on. It's that Xbox is just kind of coming off a little bit like a cuck right now. And it's not to say that, maybe PlayStation will go down this same road. It's fairly likely. I mean, what we're seeing Xbox do is probably just the result of an inevitable future for all gaming brands as it becomes more and more obsolete and antithetical to do these exclusive hardware platforms, and where it all just becomes about trying to get your game in as many people's faces as possible as budgets keep ballooning, and the objective keeps becoming, service games over one and done experiences. So it stands to reason that this approach that Xbox has taken isn't necessarily the approach of like someone who's lost or is giving up, but of someone who is saying, this isn't working. We gotta change things because the industry is changing and we're not dominating. So let's pivot. And it's very well could be the case that even Nintendo and PlayStation have to play a very similar game in 5, 10, 15 years. However, there's no denying it's just kind of boring. It's just kind of less fun, Talking about Xbox partnering with Asus to do a tablet. It's like, yeah, it's just less fun than like Xbox is neck and neck with PlayStation. They said, fuck you, PlayStation. Here's another exclusive game that looks awesome. Like, people want to see that. People want to see you fucking go for the jugular and throw some punches. They don't want to see you get cute and pivot and go do what Steam's doing, So I think that's all I really took from this interview or from this excerpt that I just really found interesting and wanted to talk about. But if you want to go listen to the Xbox or Gamertag Radio podcast and get more from it, of course, that's out there. You can go do that. But really, that's it for our appetizers, our short stories, our mildly amusing start to the podcast. Now, you guys, we're going to get into the main news, talk about that Xbox handheld. But before we do, I'm going to tell you about the games I've been playing this week. But before I can tell you about the games I've been playing this week, I got to tell you about what it is I've been eating. And oh boy, I'm so excited to tell you about this one, guys, because I finally made a pilgrimage that I've been trying to make for basically as long as I've lived here. I think it must have been 2017, 2018. Maybe it was 2019. Joffrey's Coffee opened up their first and only standalone coffee shop, and it was in Tampa, Florida, which is fitting because they are from Tampa, Florida. And then shortly afterwards, they opened a second coffee shop, independent, like actual store coffee shop, and it was also in Tampa, Florida, which is fitting because they're from Tampa, Florida. And I've been trying to go here forever. Now, little context for those saying, what the fuck is a Joffrey's Coffee? Okay, Joffrey's Coffee is, I don't know if it's the best coffee, but I love Joffrey's. I have a huge soft spot for Joffrey's. Most people know it. In fact, 99% of people who ever have Joffrey's know it for one reason only, and it's because they are the official coffee sponsor and provider for Walt Disney theme parks around the globe, or I think just in the U.S., so California and Florida. But in any case, and I think they're now at Disney Cruise Line, I don't fucking know. But in any case, when you go to Disney World or Disneyland, yes, they have a Starbucks in every park if you're a basic bitch and you got to have Starbucks. But if you have higher brain functionality and you think on a level that most people can't even fathom, then you're not going to the Starbucks on Main Street, USA at Magic Kingdom. You're going around the corner to Tomorrowland, or hell, you already stopped by the Ticket and Transportation Ticket Center and picked up a cup over there of Joffrey's Coffee, because Joffrey's, this coffee company from Tampa, Florida, has coffee booths all around Disney theme parks, resort hotels, Disney Springs, Downtown Disney, Disneyland, Disney World, whatever. And, it's like, get a latte, get a cappuccino, get a cup of coffee, get a fucking tea, get a hot tea, get a smoothie. They sell muffins and donuts and cookies, right? It's a little coffee kiosk, and you go up and you're like, I'll have a latte and a fucking muffin, right? And you move about your merry way. But the thing is, Joffrey's Coffee isn't just like an option for coffee when you're at Disney World. It's like pretty damn great coffee. It's like actually, in my opinion, and I'm not a Starbucks hater. I actually like Starbucks quite a bit. I rarely ever go there, but I do like Starbucks. Joffrey's Coffee is substantially better than Starbucks. Substantially better than Dunkin' Donuts. I'm trying to think of like other major chains you might find yourself having access to. Haven't tried a Dutch Bros yet. They're building one right down the road from my house, so maybe I'll try one soon. But, like your major, like your Starbucks and your Dunkin' Donuts and Tim Hortons and that kind of thing. In my experience, Joffrey's is just, it's like that, but a step up, a notable step higher. It's got a little bit more of like a classy, higher, like more expensive feel like a Starbucks, but it's got better coffee. And so I've been trying to go to this. They have two stores that aren't in Disney theme parks. They're proper coffee shops, and they're both in Tampa. And this weekend we spent all Saturday, basically sunrise to sunset, or sundown. God, we got home late. We spent the whole freaking day in Tampa on Saturday doing a couple of things, and I know where these things are on the map. I said, baby, we're gonna be close to that Joffrey's Coffee shop. Can we please go? So we went. And guess what? After a half a decade or so of waiting, it paid off. It was worth it. It was great. It lived up to the hype. First of all, Joffrey's is awesome because their logo is purple, and when you go in their store, it has lots of purple trim and logo everywhere. And I appreciate fun colors. I'm so tired of every business being like white, black, gray, a very safe shade of blue that's inoffensive and common. I love fun colors, and purple is a fun color. So shout out to Joffrey's. It's got a cozy, cool, modern, vibey coffee shop with with purple accents and purple trim and purple letters everywhere. And I fucking love it. But that's not why you're there. You're not there for the purple. You're there for the coffee because you can't drink purple, kids, unless it's ube. And the coffee's fantastic. It tasted like every Joffrey's I've ever had. Now, I tried something different. I didn't go for a regular. My usual is I always drink basic coffee at home, just black coffee, black hot coffee with a little bit of sugar in it. But on the weekends when I'm going out for coffee, I always get my bougie iced vanilla latte with oat milk. That's my go-to. But I wasn't going to try it because I've had so many oat milk iced vanilla lattes from Joffrey's in the past. I said, I'm going to try something different. So for their spring menu, as part of their spring menu, they got a pistachio latte. So, oh my God, you bitches. So I got the pistachio latte, oat milk, of course. Not because I'm lactose intolerant. I just genuinely think oat milk tastes way better than regular milk when it comes to coffee. So I got the pistachio latte, and I gotta be honest with you, this was an S tier latte. This is a very, very tasty latte. I enjoyed it quite a bit. So the atmosphere was great. The shop is cute. The staff was super friendly. The latte was phenomenal. So I just want to give a big shout out to Joffrey's because I can confirm now it's not Disney Magic doing all the heavy lifting. It is you, Joffrey's. It's you. It's your high quality of customer service. It's your clean store. It's your pretty atmosphere. And it's your delicious coffee that does all the heavy lifting because it was just another wonderful cup of Joffrey's coffee. And if I'm lucky, I'll have Joffrey's again and again and again because it's the best coffee. Usually it's what I drink. I don't really drink it at home because it's expensive. I usually just buy coffee in bulk at like Sam's Club or BJ's or whatever because I'm cheap. And I just, drink coffee for like 10 cents a day at home. But, oh boy, on the weekends, oh man, I fucking love going to Disney Park. First stop, always Joffrey's coffee. That's always my go-to. Like go to Epcot early in the morning to ride Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. Hit that Joffrey's coffee cart right outside the entrance of the park. Get that iced vanilla latte. Enjoy that. Hot Florida sun already beating down your fucking face at 8 in the morning. I don't care. I got iced coffee, bitches. And then it's always a good day. So I want to give a shout out to Joffrey's. I want to give a shout out to Tampa. I love Tampa. Just as a side note, just want to give a shout out to Tampa. It is the superior Florida city. I've always been partial to Tampa. It's always been the part of Florida I've enjoyed the most. But I gotta say, having spent as much time now in that city as I have, it is undoubtedly the truth. Tampa is the ultimate superior place to be in the state of Florida. Miami, no. Orlando, it's good, but no. Jacksonville, more like Jackson, go kill yourself. Tampa is the answer. So shout out to Tampa. Shout out to Joffrey's, a Tampa brand, the Tampa native brand. Shout out to the Tampa Bay Lightning, I guess. I don't really care about you. You're not the fucking Arizona Coyotes, rest in peace. But shout out to the Tampa Bay Rays. Do love Devil Rays. And just shout out. Shout out. Also, shout out to the parking. Everywhere we went in Tampa. Parking, I hate paying for parking. I hate parking in cities, but I feel like parking wasn't that much of a hassle. So shout out to that. Get that pistachio latte. It's so fucking good. Anyway, guys, that's it for what I've been eating. Now it's on to what I've been playing, and this is where I say, oh, I got back to Avowed. Let me be honest with you. I didn't. I'm in a little bit of a funk right now. I like Avowed. I truly do. But I think I'm in one of those moods, and I know most of you at least know what I'm talking about. It happens sometimes. Like something in life gets in the way and you can't play video games for like a week or so. And it always goes one of two ways. It's either like I haven't been able to play video games for like 10 days. I cannot wait to get back to my Xbox. Or it's the opposite. It's like I haven't played video games in 10 days. And now I'm just kind of not in the mood to play video games. And so I had the opportunity, especially all day Sunday, to play Avowed. And that was my intention. But I just didn't. I went grocery shopping, cleaned up around the house, watched a couple episodes of Daredevil, which I'm still working through. I'm on season 2 now. And then finally at night, I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to force myself to sit down and play Avowed because I know after 20 minutes of playing it, I'm going to be like, oh yeah, I really like this game. I was really enjoying this before I got pulled away from it for a while. So I sit down to boot up Avowed, but I made the rookie mistake of booting up my Xbox and being like, oh, let me browse around the store and see what game releases came out. And boom, I got sucked into the Ubisoft publisher sale. And before you know it, I'm spending $4.49 on Far Cry 6 DLC, because Far Cry 6 had those DLC packs where you get to go back and play these little spin-off campaign missions as previous Far Cry villains. So Voss from Far Cry 3, Joseph Seed from Far Cry 5, and Pagan Min from Far Cry 4. And so I never played the DLC for Far Cry 6. I played the game, but Far Cry 4 is by far my favorite entry in the series by like a lot. And so I was like, you know what? I feel like I gotta play this. Like I love Far Cry 4 so much. It's actually one of those rare games I often think about. Like, I think I might just go replay that game from start to finish just because I like it so much. And so I just felt like obligated. Like I had to give this a try. So for $4, why not? I downloaded it. And so basically what this is, it's like a 1 to 2 hour little open zone, little spin-off campaign, like one-shot story mission, where in the case of this one, it's like Pagan Min and interact with his own hallucinations, and you got to like come face to face with all three of them, and you basically just tick boxes off a little micro open world that looks like a microcosm of the map from Far Cry 4, and it's fine. It's fun. It feels and plays like Far Cry 6, so it's got all the modern amenities and tweaks that Far Cry 6 has over Far Cry 4, but it looks like Far Cry 4, which is cool. It doesn't feel 100%, and I feel like the game is saying absolutely nothing. Like, it's like trying to justify having this like one-shot story that doesn't really need to be and isn't really saying anything or doing anything. But nonetheless, I'm enjoying it anyway because I love the setting and the aesthetic of Far Cry 4. Now, this is a little different because it's like, Far Cry 4 takes place in the fictional country of Kirat, which is just basically Nepal. It takes place in like the Himalayan mountains of Nepal, the Nepalian region. And it's like springtime, and there's like flowers and the trees are blooming and everything. But in real Far Cry 4, it's like snowy Himalayan mountains, Expedition Everest, Yeti, So it's like kind of a night and day difference with the seasonal change, which I don't like as much. And I just feel like the narrative is kind of like, what is this? But here's the catch. It's Far Cry. It's stupid. It's unnecessary. It's nothing special, but it's just dumb fun. And that's the thing about Far Cry is like, I always enjoy Far Cry. Now, I will be honest. I feel like Far Cry's kind of lost a little bit of its luster. Like, they need to reinvent that game a little bit. But I do always enjoy it. I think 3 is great. I think 4 is the best. I think 5 is good, but it was my least favorite by a lot. I think 6 was an improvement over 5, but still not as good as 3 and 4. But I always have a good time playing Far Cry. And so this is no different. I'm enjoying it, just dicking around in it. I played it for a couple hours and then kind of put it down. And now I'm ready to go back to Avowed, but I got to be honest with you. I have no plans this weekend. I don't know what I'm doing this weekend. I don't know why I wouldn't play Avowed, but I feel kind of pulled out of gaming right now. And I got to get back to Avowed. I just know. I know if I sit down and force myself to play it for 20 minutes, I'll be sucked right back in. But I got to do it, because what's going to happen is if I don't do this now, Atomfall is going to come out, and then Expedition 33 and South of Midnight, and then I'm going to get buried. So I got to get on top of this. I got to get back to Avowed. I got to put my 20 hours in, see that game through. It's Daredevil. The combination of doing housework, watching Daredevil, it's getting me pulled away from what really matters most, which isn't spending time with my family. It's not, living a robust lifestyle or enjoying the things that are speaking to me in the moment. It's making sure that I'm always working on my backlog so that I can be a real gamer. So I gotta get back to that, guys. I'm sorry. I'll try to be better for next week. But that's it for what I've been playing. You guys, let's take a quick water break and hop into the news. All right, guys, let's jump into the news. There's really only one story, but it's a notable one. It's a big one. And I think we'll be excited and have fun talking about it. So let's just hop right in. So this is a big scoop from Jez Corden over at WindowsCentral.com. And a lot of other outlets have reported on it and added additional information in the time since this story published a few days ago. So there's been some developments, and we'll try to get into it a little bit. So here we go. From Windows Central, so it's the perspective of Jez Corden who wrote it. Here's your first glimpse at Xbox's next-gen hardware plans, and some parts are being executed more quickly than you may think. First up, Microsoft's working with a PC gaming OEM, think Asus, Lenovo, MSI, Razer, etc. Although we now are under the impression that it's definitely Asus they're working with, on an Xbox branded gaming handheld surprisingly slated for later this year, 2025, if plans are met. Codenamed Keenan, this gaming handheld will look unmistakably Xbox-like, we're told, complete with the official Xbox guide button and Xbox design sensibilities. Given that it's a partner device similar to Lenovo's SteamOS partnership with Valve, I expect the handheld to be more PC-oriented. Keenan is almost definitely running full Windows, putting Microsoft Store or PC Game Pass front and center, alongside the ability to install things like Steam and Epic Games and so on. Now, since then, they've done some additional reporting and said, yes, it is a Windows-based device. It is basically a gaming PC handheld, not an Xbox handheld, but hang on. The device will likely serve, at least in part, as a research experience for Microsoft. I expect the handheld will test the new Windows 11 device-aware capabilities while reducing third-party OEM bloatware that are typically found on devices like Lenovo Legion Go and Asus ROG Ally. I expected Microsoft will leverage widgets on the Xbox Game Bar for PC controlling things like TDP and fan speed, while hopefully having some more streamlined OS experiences for controller use. Now, because indeed our sources also indicate that Microsoft's internal successor to the Xbox Series X and S platform have been fully greenlit and are all the way up to CEO Satya Nadella. Now, for now, we understand that Microsoft's next-gen hardware plans include a premium successor to the powerful Xbox Series X, along with its own Xbox gaming handheld and several new controller options. Tentatively, these console devices are slated for 2027. It seems that the next-gen Xbox consoles will be closer to Windows than ever before, reducing the amount of work developers have to commit when porting from PC. I understand that they will continue to support backwards compatible with legacy Xbox games too. However, Xbox President Sarah Bond previously announced that project teams specifically designed to promote backwards compatibility and forwards compatibility for existing Xbox games to that end. Xbox lead Phil Spencer has teased in previous interviews a desire to support third-party storefronts on Xbox hardware too, including platforms like Epic Game Store, GOG, itch.io, and even Steam itself. There's every reason to presume AI will have a role in the next gen, as well as Xbox cloud capabilities. Microsoft's new controller have direct cloud connectivity from what we've been told, and more intelligence allowing players to switch between them in different devices. By linking Xbox to Windows, Microsoft can cast the need to build a system that's completely lockstep with PlayStation on features and power. Microsoft could potentially target more powerful box more in line with higher-end PCs, giving developers an easier time to optimize their Windows PC version specifically to next-gen Xbox console. Thanks to the Series S, Microsoft already has a large amount of games that could be more easily ported to handheld systems. The strong possibility that these future systems will remain backwards compatibility ensures that those of us who are digitally locked into the Xbox ecosystem will have a place to upgrade to the future. Future Xbox games will likely be Windows-oriented, hopefully with Xbox Play Anywhere as default licensing model. Cronky writes in and says, the news seems to indicate that Xbox Handheld is actually going to be a partner device, where someone else makes it with the Xbox license. I think that's a wrap, boys. I've been denying that they're tapping out, but this is a pretty strong indicator. They will try to do it as an Xbox OS to keep their storefronts alive, but otherwise they're going to leave hardware pretty soon. RIP Xbox, you will always have a better UI than the competition. Cronky, I appreciate you writing in this perspective. I could not disagree with you anymore. I really don't see this as that. In fact, I think that this is incredibly being blown out of the water, the reaction to this news. Like, people are overreacting about this in both directions, as far as doom and gloom and also hype level, because this device seems to be pretty much exactly what I'm anticipating the future of Xbox to be. But this particular device is also very much, in my opinion, going to be an experiment box or something, because they were high. Okay, so let me back up. I think Xbox is very eager to get a handheld to market, and it's going to take them longer than they want for it to take in order to get there. And I think this is a way for them to get a lot of trial and error, learn a lot of mistakes, and fine tune the best in-house made handheld they can possibly make before they go ahead and pull the trigger and do that. So that is what I think is happening here. I think we are absolutely getting another generation of Xbox console and handheld. And what happens beyond that, well, I mean, that's 10, 12 years from now, so who fucking knows? But I think we're 100% not going to see Xbox bow out of hardware anytime in at least the short to mid-term future. So I wouldn't worry about that aspect of things. If anything, this sounds like they are... Well, here's the thing, is Xbox already has a history of doing these kinds of things. They've worked with other partners like Razer and such in the past to be like, here's officially licensed Xbox peripherals, controllers, accessories, adapters for phones, all these types of things. And now they're kind of taking it a step further and doing a handheld. And they want to see what is it like when you take one of these gaming handheld devices and market it and gear it specifically towards the Xbox ecosystem. And then take everything they learn from that and fine tune and really pull off the best version of their own in-house device that they can do. So I think that's a given. In fact, I think it's kind of to the point where like I wouldn't really worry about it or argue about it. I just think there's no really room for just, argument unless Microsoft completely backs out and 100%, does a full 180 on this whole console initiative and this next gen initiative, which I guess is possible. I just don't see that being the case. But this seems pretty cut and clear that they want to learn from this device and have this be an experiment and a learning exercise for them. So I wouldn't take this really anywhere beyond that. Remember, the next generation of Xbox, as we're being told, is very much geared towards this future of like all the storefronts in one place and backwards compatibility and more PC-like than ever before. And so if we're to believe that that's where Xbox is headed, they need to start working with OEMs to get information and data from what these guys are seeing in this market and with this segment, but also to help kind of spreading the field with like, if everything's an Xbox, let's help some of our partners make some of the best Xboxes out there. It's like my thing I always say about Surface. Like Microsoft makes Surface and says, hey, this is what we think is the best Windows device. However, Lenovo and Dell and Asus and all these other companies can continue to make their own PCs as well. And one is meant to kind of inspire and help move the others along, but everyone's allowed to make their own Windows PC. So I kind of see this in a way as being like a precursor to what I'm talking about, them kind of applying that Surface logic over to Xbox, which is like, yeah, we're going to make our own handheld. We're going to make our own home console, but, PlayStation and ROG Ally and Steam Deck and your iPhone and all these things, these are also Xboxes as well. So, by all means, look at what we did with Asus, look at what we're doing with our own hardware, look at all of our software and all the features we brought to Windows to support gaming, use that to help your company build the best Xbox hardware you can possibly build. So I just feel like this is pretty lockstep in place with where I suspect they're headed, as well as it just doesn't seem that crazy to see Xbox want to partner with one of these other guys who's already in this market and say, hey, what are you learning? How can we help you get better? And how can we gather data and tests and learn from some kind of partnership to help us better, fine tune and develop our own in-house project. So I just really think that's all we're seeing here. We're 2 years away from the next generation of Xbox hardware. And this is kind of like a mid-generation like experiment to help them kind of get to that final phase before we get into the production of next gen. So that is how I'm seeing this. I'm really not doom and gloom about this. I'm really not worried about it. I think Xbox has a really interesting next gen plan between all their backwards and forwards compatibility initiatives, all their bringing the best of PC to Xbox and making Xbox more PC-like while also making it a home console, while also giving it the freedom to allow developers to make PC games look, run, and behave a certain way on Xbox that is more in line with power PCs and less in line with traditional home consoles like PlayStation and Xbox. And I think all this stuff sounds really interesting, really unique, really exciting, and I very much look forward to the next generation of Xbox. So I don't know. I feel good about this. Now, is this a device I would buy? I don't know. I'll wait till I see it. I'm really happy with my Logitech G Cloud. I really love that thing a lot. And I feel like that will probably get me until the proper Xbox handheld is released in 2 years just fine. But I don't know. Let's see what this thing looks like. If it looks sexy enough, if it feels good enough in the hand, and it has enough bells and whistles and features, maybe so. But I'm expecting this to basically be a glorified Xbox Play Anywhere device with the ability to download Steam on it if you really want to. But I'm pretty much more than just content with my Logitech G Cloud for now. But we shall see. I'm very excited to see what this is. I wonder when we'll learn about this. This could be at the Summer Showcase event, which would be really exciting, since Xbox wants to get everything on the market this year before fucking summer rolls around. So I look forward to learning more about this. I feel positive about it. I think this is more about learning, a learning experience, and about beginning to kind of the start of that partnership with other OEMs to be like, hey, everything is an Xbox. Do you want to build an Xbox? Do you want to build an Xbox? So I just think this is kind of the beginning of that, taking its next steps forward. So anyway, guys, that's it really for all the news. There's really not much else going on. Let's wrap up with some smaller news stories important enough to make the podcast, but important enough to warrant their own discussions. And then we got the best section, the listener comments, you sweet, salty boys. Can't wait. All right, you guys. So VGC relays that Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra could be released this Christmas, according to one of the game's voice actors. We'll have to wait to see more. I feel like that's a Summer Game Fest announcement. Next up, PureXbox.com says it's been announced this week that following the closed beta, Killing Floor 3 will be getting delayed till some point later in 2025. The studio behind the game says that they missed the mark with the beta and want to address player concerns. Next up, VGC relays that Activision's officially announced that a date for Verdansk when Verdansk will return to Call of Duty Warzone. It's been known that Verdansk, which was originally the map for Warzone, would be making a return at some point. The Activision announced back in August that they would announce it sometime this spring. The publisher has finally announced exactly when this will happen, and it is next month in April. So April 3rd is when Verdansk comes back to Call of Duty. I know people are excited about that because Warzone people love those old maps. And then finally, VGC relays that popular social media network platform Discord is reportedly in early talks to go public. Platform, which was founded in 2015 by Jason Citron, grew popular with gamers in the last decade due to its ease of use and integration with games and the fact that it's free. In the years since, Discord has grown into a hub of thousands of different communities, largely replacing traditional web forums. According to reports, the decision to go public follows the election of Donald Trump, leading a market that is more friendly to tech giants looking to make these types of moves. According to the Financial Times, Discord was last valued at $15 billion. All right, you guys, that is it for all of our news. Now we get into the best, the final, the last, the sexiest segment of the podcast. The comments, shout-outs from YouTube.com. You write in on the latest episode of the podcast, youtube.com/XboxOnPodcast. Click on the most recent episode, drop a comment, be a dick, be a McGordon, be a nice guy, be a McFlurry from McDonald's and those new weird cups they got. But whatever you do, write in Gaelic, because that's the only way I can read it. But guys, we got 5 people writing in this week, and so let's jump right into it. Mr. Maug writes in and says, hope this gets to you before the recording. We need Tony Hawk's Underground 1 and 2 and American Wasteland. Oh, my brother, we most certainly do. But did you see that Bam Margera is not going to be in the 3 and 4 remake? Bam Margera plays a huge part in Thug 1 and 2, especially Thug 2. So I do wonder, I don't know, maybe I'm just looking too much into it. I wonder if that's going to be a thing. But anyway, dude, I would love Tony Hawk's Underground to come back. I just don't know if it will, because I feel like those games are a little more involved. It's got the voice acting and the likeness of these various skaters, not just their appearance. It's got, the whole level structure, and do people want that? And it has an age as well. The other ones are more arcadey. This is more like campaign focused. Do people want that? I don't know. I hope at the very least, I feel like we could at least get a Tony Hawk's Underground remake collection. But, oh man, American Wasteland's my favorite, so that's the one I hope for the most. Let's cross our fingers, Mr. Maug. We can only hope. God bless us all. Sam Frito writes in and says, Ticketmaster, because the suck out of life of wanting to pay for shows, because they suck the life out of wanting to pay for shows. So lame. As for breakfast, Cracker Barrel is my favorite. I used to be a Chef Mickey's guy, Contemporary Hotel. Dude, Chef Mickey's is like one of the only places at Disney World that I've never had breakfast. I feel like I've been to every major breakfast location on Walt Disney property. I think the only 3 that come to mind that's like, no, I haven't done that. I haven't done Akershus or whatever, the fucking Norwegian restaurant in the Norway Pavilion at Epcot. I haven't done their princess dining breakfast, and that's because it's overpriced. And I don't like character dining, especially when it's face characters, because it's just awkward being like a 30-year-old man shoving your face with Mickey waffles and bacon while like some 20-year-old girl dressed as like Aurora from Sleeping Beauty comes up to you and she's like, "Hello, sir. How are you doing?" I'm like, "I don't have any fucking kids. Leave me alone. I don't want to fucking get an autograph from you. Please let me just eat my Mickey waffles that cost $70." So I haven't been there. I haven't been to Tusker House. At Animal Kingdom, their character breakfast is apparently really good. I'm okay with character breakfast if it's costume characters, if it's like Mickey and Pluto and Minnie and Goofy. I think that's cute. It's fun when they come around the table and they make the silly faces and you just take a selfie together with your girlfriend and you get your cheesy potato casserole. It's like a good time. But I haven't done that one yet. But yeah, the top of the list of character breakfasts or Disney breakfasts I've never done. Chef Mickey's, which is crazy because the Contemporary Resort and Bay Lake Tower as an extension are actually my favorite resort at Walt Disney World. I love the Contemporary, even though Disney has done a wonderful job fucking it up because modern Disney doesn't understand Disney in the least bit. But despite all that, I still love the Contemporary Resort. It means so much to me. But I've never eaten at Chef Mickey's. I've been to Steakhouse 71 a million times before it was Steakhouse 71, back when it was the wave of American flavors. May you rest in peace, my favorite restaurant of all time. I've eaten there a trillion times. And then what am I trying to say? California Grill, of course, at the top of the resort. I've been there a couple times as well. Phenomenal restaurant. I really don't like what they've done with it since COVID, but that's beside the point. I love that restaurant. Outer Rim. That's like my favorite resort bar on property. I fucking love Outer Rim. It's a great place to get a smoked turkey and just enjoy an evening at Disney World. I love the Contemporary Resort so much. I've never been to Chef Mickey's. It's a hard reservation to get. It's loud. I feel like it's in that concourse. It's not a great place to eat. And the menu doesn't look that appealing. And it's just a hard reservation to get. I don't know. I've never had Chef Mickey's. Listen, I'm not opposed to Chef Mickey's. I'd love to try it. But I just haven't had it. Dude, breakfast at Walt Disney World, like we could do, I shit you not, we could do a whole 3 hour, and I'm sure most of you at home are like, yes, Jesse, we don't doubt you. I could do a 3-hour Xbox On podcast all about breakfast at Walt Disney World because, oh my God, that is a subject matter. You know, you think about people talking about war in Ukraine or the economy or the housing market or the homeless population or just like, you know, women's rights and just, you know, the breaking down of the American nuclear family, just all these kinds of talking points that, you know, people have like some skin in the game. People were worried about the economy, the job market, this, that, college, the price of just everything. What gets me really, really passionate, you know, my version of that kind of topic is really like getting into the nitty gritty of like where the best place to have breakfast at Walt Disney World is, because dude, I could just go on I could gush for hours. I mean, it would be an Xbox podcast. I would at least say like Xbox or like Phil Spencer or something once. You know, I'd be in the middle of a sentence somewhere. But oh man, that is a topic I could just go on and on and on for. Listen, before we move on, because you got me started, Sam Frito, remember this is your fault. You're to blame here because you got me started. I just had to say real quick. Trattoria Al Forno, and I shouldn't be saying this. I really shouldn't fucking be saying this because I don't want the secret to get out. But Trattoria Al Forno at the Boardwalk is one of the most slept on restaurants on Disney property. And I mean top to bottom. This place has an incredible breakfast and an incredible lunch/dinner menu. Dude, Trattoria Al Forno is the best Italian restaurant at Disney World, which is not saying much because Italian food at Disney World is more hit miss than hit. Although you could say Il Mulino maybe, but Il Mulino doesn't count as a third-party restaurant, and it's a second restaurant. The original one's in New York, so it's not quite the same. But if we're not counting Il Mulino, Trattoria Al Forno is the best restaurant for Italian food at Walt Disney World. Their steak and eggs, phenomenal. Their breakfast pizza, phenomenal. The tiramisu French toast, phenomenal. And that fucking like house coffee thing they do where it's like a fucking creamy Italian espresso frappuccino motherfucker thing. That thing is amazing. It's like one of the most amazing, delicious, sweet, yummy breakfast morning drinks you could ever have. So shout out to Trattoria Al Forno. Their dinner is also excellent. And then I want to give a special shout out and pour one out for Trail's End, which is now a quick service restaurant, but up until the end, about a year or two ago when they changed it over, Trail's End was like the most affordable breakfast buffet at Disney World. It was like $25 a person, and it was so good. You get the strawberry butter with the biscuits. You get the endless platters of the cheesy potato casserole, your Mickey waffles, your bacon, your sausage, your scrambled eggs, everything. The works, dude. The fruit plates, the yogurt, everything. The pastries, the breakfast pastries. So fucking good. I love that place to death, and I'm so sad that they remodeled it into some grab-and-go quick service morning restaurant, and it's not a buffet anymore, so that fucking hurts my heart. And then the last one, I swear to God, I'll stop after this. Last year for my girlfriend's birthday, we tried for the first time breakfast at Topolino's, which is that restaurant on the rooftop of the Riviera Resort. Holy shit. The only redeeming thing about that entire resort is that restaurant. That restaurant is phenomenal. Oh my God. Their dinner menu is phenomenal as well. It's actually even better than their breakfast, but their breakfast is so fucking good. First of all, steak and eggs there, entirely different steak and eggs than the one I was just talking about at Trattoria. So amazing, out of this world. And when you first sit down, they give you that pastry basket. It's the cutest thing ever. It's like a blue bucket full of like chocolate croissants, regular croissants, muffins, grain muffins, like nut muffins, and all the rest, all these breakfast pastries. And then they give you a little what's it called, easel or whatever, the fucking thing the artist holds with all the little blotches of paint and everything. They hand you one of those, and all the blotches of paint are like strawberry jam, raspberry jam, honey, Nutella, and they're like different dips and spreads for your pastries. And they give you the butter knife that looks like a painting brush. Dude, that restaurant, so cute, so delicious. The breakfast is phenomenal. They say it's a fixed price, and you order one appetizer, one entree, whatever. You can order whatever the fuck you want, and they'll just keep bringing it like if you're on a cruise ship. It's amazing. The fucking the sour cream waffle, the quiche, that shit, dude. Don't get me started. The thing is, if money's not an issue and you can get the reservations, breakfast at Walt Disney World, no contest. It's better than anywhere on the fucking planet. We don't got to talk about IHOP versus Cracker Barrel, but because after a while, the Disney thing with the pricing and the fighting for reservations and the crowds, it gets old eventually. So sometimes you need to just be like, fuck it, we're going to go a mile and a half down the road and eat Cracker Barrel this morning. Sometimes you got to do it. But goddamn, you got me started. Sam Frito, remember, this is your fault. This is an Xbox podcast. You got me started on the Disney breakfast thing. I haven't been to a Disney World in so long. I have not been to the theme parks. I've not been a theme park goer lately at all. I haven't been eating there. I haven't been going there. I haven't been doing shit. But that conversation right there that I just had with myself because of you, that got me going. I really fucking want to go to like Homecoming or something now. Anyway, guys, let's move forward. Please, for the love of Christ. Someone out there is like, I thought this was an Xbox podcast. What the fuck? Listen, little Jimmy John, okay? We're going to get there. Calm down. Way of the Lao writes in, and he's got a long one. And not only does he have a long penis, he has a long comment. And it's about Xbox. So shut up. We're getting back to it. He says, hello, my dude. Best wishes to you and everyone. Unfortunately, the one game that I love more than any other game in the history of games, the game that has sunk over 2,000 hours into the franchise, has a developer whose published corporation has reached tipping point where they're starting to put out an unoptimized junk in the content with this finding ways to slip microtransactions instead of focusing on improving the core mechanics of the franchise. Since you're talking about Monster Hunter Wilds, I assume. You said, since Capcom hasn't learned from the destruction of the many AAA studios around them, they will most likely continue down the path that will lead them to devastation and destruction for many. Well, I know this sounds like I'm making it out to be an apocalypse. It's obvious that they become blinded by corporate greed and shareholder prioritization, which is not a good reason to create games in the first place. I bought the game and I'm playing it and I like it, but it's seriously lacking a challenge. I was led to believe that this was going to be the successor to Monster Hunter World, not a game as more concerned with pandering to the more popular large group of casual players that its actual core base. Monster Hunter Wilds is what it is. Well, take care, dude. I love listening to you. Godspeed. I'm sorry you feel this way, Mr. Lau. I really am. I'm sorry to hear that this is the reality of it. The thing about Monster Hunter Wilds is Monster Hunter Worlds was so incredibly successful that it launched the Monster Hunter franchise, but particularly this Xbox PlayStation iteration, this like more mature version that Monster Hunter Worlds and Wilds fall into, where it's like it's their flagship product. It's now the most successful video game they have going for them, so they have to treat it in a sense, in a way that's like, how can we maximize the profit and maximize the target audience that we can promote this game to, because it's our biggest product and we need to maximize, we need to capitalize on it as much as possible. And yeah, unfortunately for hardcore fans like you who fall in love with the series for X, Y, and Z, you now have these other issues with the game because they've had to make changes in an effort to try and accommodate and to maximize what the game can be. So I get it. I get that sucks, and I do feel for you. But hopefully, at the very least, I know Monster Hunter still does like the Nintendo games that are still more like the traditional Monster Hunters that we used to get back on like Wii and Vita and PlayStation Portable and 3DS and all that. So hopefully, just hopefully, Monster Hunter wasn't on Vita; it was on PSP and 3DS. Hopefully, they'll do another Monster Hunter that feels kind of like the ones you're used to. But yeah, man, unfortunately, this is like an unintended consequence of the game being as successful as it was, is that now they have to... This is always what happens. It's like something's good, and then when it blows up, it just has to get worse because they have to water it down to keep it as commercialized as possible. I don't really get it. I don't know why it has to be this way, but I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you feel this way. I hope that, since games evolve so much these days and no game is ever the game it was at launch by the time it's a year old. Hopefully this is a game they continue to tweak and fine tune to the point where it gets more in line with what you and hardcore OG fans were expecting. I just really don't care about this game for any reason other than I want it to satisfy and satiate your needs. Dead Captain James seems like he's enjoying it. We'll get to that in a minute. Calm down. Cronky writes in and says, on the one hand, I hear you talking about playing games on easy mode and I think, wow, wuss. On the other hand, I sit here and I play Halo Wars 1 because I just want to chill and relax. So maybe I need to be nicer. I think we all seek comfort games, and at least your approach lets you play new things. Yeah, and that's really what it is. When I was a kid, I would suffer through a hard... I've never been good at video games. I've always been like a play on normal mode kind of guy. But even then, I've struggled on normal mode on many games because I'm just not really good at games that aren't called Guitar Hero. But the older I get, the more I'm just like, yeah, fucking bump it down to the easiest difficulty possible. I don't care. I just want to experience the game and move on with life, because it's always like, do I want to get frustrated and give up on this one game? Or do I want to maybe not experience it the most hardcore way, but get to experience it, have my enjoyable time with it, and then move on to something else and feel like I did something? And so I understand that I don't get the most out of my games because I play on easy mode, but I don't give a shit. It makes me happy. But I appreciate you acknowledging that and seeing the silver lining in that, or seeing it from a different point of view. And yeah, I mean, dude, listen, here's the thing. When you're a kid and you got no fucking money and you got to make the 2 games you got last until Christmas, you can afford to take chances and play your games on hard mode. But when you work 60 hours a week and you're exhausted all the time, and you got a house to maintain, you got cats to feed, and you got a girlfriend to entertain, and a theme park pass burning a hole in your wallet, I'm sorry, but sometimes you take the easy road when you're playing, Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, because it's either that or you don't play Ninja Gaiden 2 Black at all. And so I've made my decision, and I'm happy with it. I'm fine with it. I understand how others may perceive me as a result of that decision, but to those people, I would say, bet you never snagged a reservation at Topolino's Terrace for breakfast. Fucking idiot. Dumb bitch. The Woker DCJ. God, I can't get used to this. Dead Captain James writes in with our final comment and says, I was so close to finishing Avowed. I was in the last zone, but then Monster Hunter Wilds dropped. I'll return to Avowed after I finish, but I've gotten my fill of my all-time favorite video game franchise, Monster Hunter. Sounds like Dead Captain James is still really enjoying Monster Hunter. Listen, maybe Way of the Lao, you want to DM Dead Captain James and say, how are you able to appreciate this game despite its shortcomings? And he can tell you how to like it the way he likes it. I don't fucking know. But it's good to see that you're loving the game. It's good to see that speaking to you, Dead Captain James. I know probably a lot of you guys are playing Monster Hunter Wilds just statistically because the game sold like 7 million copies already. What a fucking success. I mean, that game is... obviously we knew it was going to be big, but holy shit, dude. It's good. It's good to see a video game success story at a time where most video game news is like, the creator of fucking Capcom has killed himself because game sales are down and everyone got fired. And it's like, wow, that's devastating. But just another Thursday these days. But anyway, I'm glad to see some positive news. I'm glad to see the game is doing well, that seemingly people are generally liking it, although I know it has its issues. But you guys, I'm tired. It's been a long day, and it's time to wrap it up. So until next week, I appreciate you all listening. I appreciate you all being here. Feel free to write in, leave a 5-star review. Guys, they just opened a Texas Roadhouse down the road from me. Pray that I have the strength and the courage not to go this week. I don't need to go. I don't need it. I don't need it. The money, the health, think about it. Pray for me, guys. Until next week, read a book about personal finance, pet a dog you haven't adopted yet, feed a cat and then wonder why it keeps coming back to your house. Tell someone you've never met, hey, you got something stuck in your teeth. You'll make them insecure for the rest of the day. But whatever you do, until next time, power your dreams.